Welcome, and thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy this video, we invite those of you who haven't yet done so, to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the notification icon, to be notified when the next one is uploaded. We'd also like to urge those of you who haven't yet done so, to sign our online petition for an inquiry into the BBC and Channel 4's coverage of Lewis Hamilton and Abu Dhabi, which we have amended to include Gary Lineker's sacking by the BBC. A link has been provided in the description. If you are on X, then please repost our tweet. Thank you. You may recall in the dying days of Saddam Hussein's reign of terror, how comical Ali was in a press briefing denying that US forces were in Baghdad, as US tanks were being live-streamed just a few miles away from the venue of his press briefing. Well, here we are in the dying days of Max Verstappen and Red Bull's Liberty Media-induced reign of terror, and the lamestream media are falling over themselves to proclaim Max's greatness, when the evidence is to the contrary. From the outset, Max's greatness has been built on a platform of lies, and as is often the case, the truth eventually catches up. With the passage of time, we can now show the truth is catching up with Max and his cronies, just like it did with Saddam and his some 20 years ago. Some 8 years ago, when Liberty Media bought F1, they had signaled their desperation to unseat Sir Lewis and found a willing puppet and anti-hero in Max Verstappen and Red Bull. So, under the banner of Let Them Race, they provided cover for Max's Dick Dastardly-style reckless driving, like they did for example in Austria in 2019, when he was allowed to barge Charles off the track on lap 69 out of 71, to win. In the following race at Silverstone, Charles again demonstrated his superior racecraft by putting on a defensive masterclass to keep Max, who was in a faster car, behind him. Here again, Max had to exceed the track limits to effect the overtake, which the FIA subsequently laundered with an Action of the Year award. Under the Let Them Race banner, the FIA, Liberty Media, and the lamestream media continued to ride shotgun for Max, culminating in the audacious daylight robbery committed in the nighttime race in Abu Dhabi in 2021. At the beginning of the 2022 season, Charles continued to take Max to school, so his Red Bull suddenly found more pace to allow him to run away with the 2022 and 23 titles, unchallenged. With 2023 being the most dominant period ever in F1 history. So now, the Let Them Race motto that was supposedly adopted because they wanted viewers to be entertained with more overtakes and dueling on track, can be exposed as a smokescreen because the driver it provided cover for has never won a title in which he has successfully engaged in wheel-to-wheel racing. He lost in 2021 to Sir Lewis, and he was losing to Charles at the start of the 2022 season, before his car got a sudden injection of speed, so that he didn't have to engage in any more close-quarters racing. In 2023, his car was so dominant that he simply ran away from lights to flag all season, and halfway into the 2024 season, he already had the title sewn up. However, as viewing figures started to plunge faster than the sport's credibility and Max's unpopularity, Liberty Media put McLaren into play. And of course, once Max had to engage in close-quarter racing with their drivers led by Oscar Piastri, he was out of the title race midway into the season. All that rubbish about the Red Bull car underperforming is just exactly that, rubbish put forward by the lamestream media to gaslight Max's poor driving skills. As we have shown in our previous videos, in the 13 races to date, the 3 leading drivers have each had 4 poles, and Max's lights to flag record is the worst. He has lost so many points because of losing his head when forced to compete against the other drivers during races, notably in Saudi Arabia, Miami, and Great Britain. So, he is out of the title race and falling further behind the McLaren drivers, not because his car is underperforming but because he is shipping points when forced to race against others. The fact that the McLaren drivers are lying astern at the top of the table, while there is a massive gap between Max and Yuki, is testament to the Red Bull policy of holding back their second drivers, because of how bad Max is at competing. Remember Daniel Ricciardo? Ever since Daniel and Baku, Red Bull have ensured that no other driver competes against Max. Now, it is sweet karma that Christian Horner has been sacrificed to sell the fake story that Max is not in the title race because his car is underperforming, to cover up the truth that the fault lies with Max himself. This is what happens when people start believing their own lies. They have to keep telling more lies to keep the original lie going. Max is a bad driver, and they are now struggling to keep the lie that he is a once-in-a-generation talent going, and will struggle to find fresh sacrificial lamb going forward. He has developed a reputation for outbreaking himself in wheel-to-wheel racing from the outset, and he has shown this season that he is not getting any better. He outbraked himself so notably on multiple occasions in 2019 when up against Charles, in 2021 against Sir Lewis, in 2022 against Charles again, and this season against both McLaren drivers. The only season he didn't do it was 2023, when he didn't have any occasion to. So, his talent and temperament have not evolved, and the only thing that has changed is the extent to which the lamestream media are prepared to gaslight his performance. It appears that while many of them are still unwilling to expose how badly he is performing this season, some have no such qualms. Is it any surprise that the media from the land down under are leading the anti-Max clamor with headlines such as, "Bin him off, F1 empire comes crashing down"? Who are they suggesting should be binned off? Well, that can only be Verstappen. And, which F1 empire is crashing down? Well, that can only be Red Bull. Christian Horner's sacking is clearly the most dramatic sign of the empire crashing down to date. Expectedly, he will keep his mouth shut while he is on gardening leave and his severance payment is being negotiated. But for how long will he be willing and able to take all the blame to keep the lie alive? It would appear that Red Bull are also preparing to withdraw the cover that they gave to him against the sexual harassment allegations, in advance of settling with his accuser. In that case, the chances of Christian speaking out as his reputation is being shredded off track as well as on track are likely to increase exponentially. The more his former allies in the lamestream media denounce him using the poor performance smokescreen, the more he will be motivated to cast aspersion on others. And as far as Max is concerned, who will they find to blame next for his poor performance? Notably, his media acolytes who had been finding ways of gassing him up at the beginning of the season, are now struggling to find something to gas up. It is instructive that media reports after the Belgian GP were mostly silent about his underwhelming performance. Rumors of a disgruntled Max moving to Mercedes have since been put to bed by Helmut Marko's claim that he will be at Red Bull next season. Toto, the sociopath, has likely interpreted the writing on the wall that Max is out of favor with Liberty Media, so there's nothing to be gained from signing him. The further Max falls behind in the title race, the more likely it is that his default nastiness will come to the fore, and shorn of his Liberty Media protection, the media sharks from the land above will start coming for him just as hard as the ones from the land down under are. And the dying days of Max and Red Bull's Liberty Media-induced reign of terror will be documented in all its resplendent glory. Just like Saddam's and his cronies were. Forza Ferrari.